Hi everybody, it's the Prospect Tide, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the People's Champion. Your host, welcome back to the Prospect Tide. Hope you like this video. Hit that subscribe button. As you know, we had the non-tender deadline on Friday, and there was, no real surprise except for one, and that was a former Mets prospect. But before we get into this, again, the subscribe button. This is from Ramirez, and they kind of summed it up with this particular prospect very succinctly. Mets cut 21-year-old former top 100 prospect at the non-tender deadline. The non-tender deadline had one minor surprise. This was kind of somewhat surprising. If he had been picked up, the Mets would have put him on the 40-man roster, but they didn't do that. Major League Baseball's non-tender trade deadline came at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Friday, a time usually reserved for news dumps. Actually had much of the baseball world watching, as a whole new fleet of free agents are now available. A whole bunch of good relievers. The most noteworthy one is Kyle Finnegan. He's going to have a ton of teams on him. Teams unwilling to pay projected arbitration numbers bid farewell to attractive players. New York Mets were a little tamer with what they did. A new deal with Sean Reed Foley was reached to avoid arbitration. Does it include conveniently timed injuries? Question mark. Paul Blackburn was tendered a deal despite not being available for opening day. Mets ended up non-tendering three players: Grant Hardwig, Alex Young, and former top 100 prospect Alex Ramirez, who are now headed into free agency. The choices are a bit unusual for the Mets, as only Young was arbitration eligible. Hardwig pitched sparingly in the majors, and as an undrafted free agent signed by the team to even get this far is quite remarkable. Then there's Ramirez, whose placement as a top 100 prospect prior to the 2023 season by Baseball America, MLB Pipeline, and Baseball Prospectus turned out to be a mess. It happens. It happens in Major League Baseball. You see these prospects come and go, and he was a big mess. The Mets pulled the ripcord on once promising prospect Alex Ramirez. They had high hopes for him after the 2022 campaign, which he hit 281 with a 346 on base percentage and 436 slugging percentage with 30 doubles, 11 homers, 21 stolen bases. It was his age 19 season. He was a budding prospect in the system, so nobody thought that he would be gone 2 years later. Then came the 2003 and 2004 seasons. They're virtually the same. He hit 221 in high A during the 2023 season. That's after a year repeating Brooklyn, because he repeated Brooklyn. He had done well in Brooklyn in 2022, as I said, and then he went back to Brooklyn in 23. He didn't play well. Things weren't any better this past year in Double-A. He hit 210, exact matching total of 101 hits in each season, 145 total bases in 23, and 144 in 24. It's just no hints of an improvement. While he did swipe 40 bases, the lack of hitting was concerning. Ramirez was only on the 40-man roster because the Mets chose to protect him. Excuse me. I failed to mention. I did say he was not. He was put on the 40-man roster. Let me correct myself. The Mets chose to protect him last offseason out of fear of seeing a team select him in the Rule 5 draft. Oops. Yes, they did select him. I'm sorry. So many players, you can't keep up with players sometimes. Apparently, no team was willing to give the Mets anything at all for Ramirez and a trade of any kind. Surely, the name brought up by David Stearns to representatives of other teams at this month's GM meetings, the poor protection and presence on the 40-man roster with no signs of being MLB ready, or enough to have the Mets cutting ties rather than allowing him a chance to redeem himself in 2025. Remarkably, only 21 years old, signing a new minor league free agent deal is the best resolution for Ramirez. He needs to go to a different organization. Maybe somebody can tap into what his potential. Pressure on performing at the big league level for his minor league options are all exhausted now, go on pause. One was used last year, another season in Double-A to try and figure it out. Should be where he's headed. A return to the Mets organization on a new deal is more unnecessary, and then it is unlikely. That's not going to happen. The Mets aren't going to re-sign him. They basically have let everybody know that they basically released him. It's the best. The non-tender is just another way of saying, we released you. You can get the hell out of here. Get the F out of here. Send you out to the Phantom Zone. Skadoosh. Bye-bye. So long. Farewell. But unfortunately, this happens with players. The players some players just don't make it. And some players can be really even better prospects than Ramirez. I mean, there's been so many great prospects that turn out to be nothing. One of the more famous ones is obviously Billy Beane, who went on to be the general manager of the A's and is famous for Moneyball in the movie and stuff like that. You know, you'll be in the movies, I'm going to say, but that'll happen, and that happens a lot of times. And he was a player they picked up to the international draft, not the international draft, but the international signing period a few years back, and it just didn't work out. It happens. It happens with players. Injuries, attitude. He just might not be good enough. I mean, maybe they might have projected him to be more than he actually was. Wish him well. I do know that last year there was a lot of concern. From the manager. The manager was very hard on him 2 years ago. In 2023, he wasn't happy with his attitude. I don't know if that was an issue. I have not heard much about the player's attitude. I do know the Mets, there was a lot of talk that they would trade him in 2022, that the Red Sox were very interested in him, as well as Mark Vientos for J.D. Martinez. That deal did not take place, obviously, because Martinez did not get moved that season, and the Mets did not move Vientos, and thankfully they didn't move him. So, but that's how it goes sometimes. But you let me know what you think about this video. Of course, please subscribe to Prospect Hut, which is the best Mets prospect channel. It's no other channel that's solely for the prospects for the Mets and what's going on in the minor league. Sometimes it gets a little, I try to find stuff to talk about here, you know, because sometimes it's quiet. But this wasn't a quiet situation. This was a rather interesting story to talk about. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.